This is Rockin' with Jam Man. It's with the legendary Billy
I'm not
Sheehan.
recording right now.
What?
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you, man?
I'm pretty good. I've been practicing my bass today and working on answering emails and setting up recording sessions for some people, and very busy time.
Yeah, that sounds just like a right tone of the day for a legendary rock star like you.
Well, I wouldn't say that. A bass player, maybe, but not a legendary rock star.
Well, you have been a part of so many legendary bands and still continue to rock. That's amazing. You've been in so many fantastic bands. It's
Well,
amazing.
thanks a lot. I've been very lucky to play with some great people, great musicians, and we got lucky in a lot of ways. They had the right songs at the right time and the right tours and things like that. And those things are sometimes difficult to predict if they're going to come your way or not. And we're very fortunate to have some amazing fans around the world who've been buying our records and coming to our shows and all over the world too. It's pretty great. Once you have a hit record, as we did in Mr. Big, very fortunately, the whole world knows about it. So when you go to Brazil or India or Thailand or Germany or Russia, they know who you are. It's pretty cool.
Oh my god, that sounds like awesome. I can't wait till I'm famous and I just go into Russia or just a random country and people, oh yo,
It's him.
Russia. Yeah, yeah, man, that would be amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. How does the pandemic affect you personally?
Well, there's no shows, so I can't perform live. Fortunately, I have a little home studio. I'm in it right now. And people from around the world write to me and ask me if I'll play on their songs. And we work out the details, and mostly it's a yes. And so I have an engineer who comes here and he works the controls for me. And we've done over, well over 300 songs since the pandemic started. So that's a lot. We also use another friend of mine, Ray Lugier. He's a drummer from Korn. He's a dear friend of mine. He lives here in Nashville. We have a little production team along with another gentleman. And so we've got a lot of work done. And this is the longest I've been home since the 70s. I'm always on the road. I'm always on tour and always traveling. So it's nice to be have no airports for a little while, no security checks, and just me and a bass down here hanging out, and it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
It's not so bad.
yeah. For a lot of big people like you, it was like really weird because you're like every single day you're on the road basically. So and then like when this COVID thing, it's like, is something wrong here? Something I don't get it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, a lot of guys had a tough time adapting, but I'm a home handyman too, so I had a lot of projects around the house I had to finish. Put some carpeting on the stairs and put in a few lights and a couple of other things like that. So that kept me busy too. And we have a new home here in Nashville, and we live in a wooded area, so we have deer and raccoon and possums and beautiful nature and trees and clean air. And so it's a nice. If I'm going to be stranded anywhere, it's a good place to be stranded.
Yeah, because yeah, I literally do have like a deep forest right in my backyard as well. So I got a
Great.
ton of deers, raccoons, a lot of things.
How cool. Yeah, I do the same thing. I love it.
I know Talas was making a new album before the passing of Phil Noro. Were you ever able to complete that album? Were you ever able?
Well, the album is done, and we're mixing it now. Phil, sadly, of course, we lost him. It was a he did a very brave battle against cancer, and he sang the whole record knowing that he was in trouble, and but he pushed anyway, and he it was quite brave of him to continue singing and singing awesomely, really great. He did a great job, knowing that he didn't know what the outcome was going to be. None of us did, but he got through it, sang the whole record, It's done. It's being mixed now in Toronto. I'm in touch with the engineer every day, and the record sounds really great. And I think the best thing about the record is that it's a wonderful legacy to Phil's talent and how wonderful of a man he was, and how loved he was.
Yeah.
So it's all a good thing. It's going to be okay.
Now, can you tell me about that time that you two opened for Talas on stage one, the club owned by Harvey Weinstein?
Quite an amazing bunch of people to be associated with. In Buffalo, New York, my band Talas was kind of the biggest band in town, and the biggest guy in the music business was Harvey Weinstein, and he was a local promoter at Harvey and Corky Productions, him and Corky Berger. And so they started to get involved with us because we needed some kind of management, and they ended up being our managers. And they got us the Van Halen tour in 1980, got us a lot of great tours and a lot of great shows. But they owned a club for their smaller shows in Buffalo. So an unknown band from Ireland called U2 was coming through town, and we played regularly every Monday night as a headliner. And then they'd have other bands come and open up for us. So they told us one night, there's a band gonna open up for you guys. They're called U2. And I go, isn't that the name of a submarine? Because there was U2 was a submarine in World War II. They go, no, it's this band from Ireland. I go, okay. Nobody had ever heard of them. They were brand new. It was their first tour. So they got up on stage and played. They sounded good. And The Edge left me a little note in the dressing room thanking us because let them use our PA and monitors and took good care of them. No problem. And we told people that later on when U2 became famous, and they said, well, that's impossible. U2 opened up for Dallas, you're crazy. Maybe you opened for them. I go, no, I swear, it was them opening for us. So years later, U2 played in the Rich Stadium, which is the stadium the Buffalo Bills play in. Huge sold-out show. And they mentioned it on stage. They said the first time we played in Buffalo, we were surprised because there was people there. Probably because we were opening up for a band called Talas. And the whole stadium at once jaws dropped. And they said, well, it was true after all. So they were very kind to mention that. And then a friend of mine in Buffalo bootlegged the show and sent it to me. So I have the recording of Bono saying that. It was pretty cool. But I'm kind of glad to say, in a sad manner, I guess, I ended my relationship with Harvey Weinstein on a bad note. When I was still back in Buffalo, we had a big argument and we ended up splitting from the management, and I never spoke with him again. And then, of course, he went to Hollywood, became famous, and then subsequently infamous by his shenanigans. So he's sitting in a jail cell right now somewhere. Yeah. So tough times.
Tough times, man.
Yep, that's the story.
Yep, that's the story. Did you have any idea that they would ever get so big?
No. Same with the Police. The Police came through. We didn't play with them, but they used all of our PA and lights. So at that same club, and I went to the show because I already knew about the Police. I hadn't heard of U2, and I love the Police. So I stood right in front and watched the whole show, and I thought, man, these guys are great. I hope someday something happens for them. It sure did. The same with U2. They were a great band. And it's funny what makes a band catch the public's interest or not. And they just had the right ingredients, the right songs, the right sounds. And I'm very, very happy for them. They're wonderful people, and I'm glad they're doing well.
My grandparents were there and waited outside until they were done playing and said that they were a lot of people waiting outside in the parking lot because no one wanted to see some Irish band that just came out of nowhere and no one ever heard it. So they were like, no, they're probably gonna be trash, but like now
I think they regret that.
Yeah, it's like now, like, how did I refuse that question? What was that about? Wrong with me back then.
Pretty funny.
My grandparents ended up buying that bar made out of oak barrels.
Wow. That was called Stage One. Before that, it was called Patrick Henry's. And before that, it was called the Poor House East. And that was the very first Talas show ever happened in that bar.
Yeah.
Amazing.
the history with you guys now.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, what was it like being part of David Lee Roth? I mean, this was his heyday. He just started his solo career and formed a super group with you.
It was an amazing adventure. I came from Buffalo, as you know, and Talas was, we were doing good, but we were still playing clubs, and it was a tough struggle. And suddenly I got a call from Dave to come out to LA and start a band, and my life changed dramatically. And I felt bad. I left a lot of dear friends back in Buffalo because there's only so many hours in the day, and how you can keep in touch with people. But they're still my friends, and I still have a lot of great connections with wonderful people in Buffalo. But I had to go out to LA and start pretty much a whole new life, and it was an incredible thing. We right away we were rehearsing in a huge place and booking giant stadiums and auditoriums and uh, hanging out in Hollywood with Diamond Dave, and we had an incredible time. Myself, Steve Vai, Greg Bissonette, Brett Tuggle, our keyboard player, also who went on tour with us, and Dave. And I'm supremely thankful to Dave for giving me such a great break. My life would not be what it is today without him, and I appreciate that.
This was the mid 80s when rock bands would get real wild. Can you tell me a crazy story that you remember by any chance?
Well, there were a lot of crazy stories, but one it's hard to it's hard for me to think of any that I can tell at this moment. But I will say that uh, I enjoy having a drink, wine or beer once in a while, but I don't do any drugs at all, and I haven't since 1971. And I'm against drugs. I'm not against the people who do them, but I just wish they would not, because I do think they alter your mind in a bad way. And it's sad to see how so many people have been damaged. So we had a great time, but on our tour bus, there wasn't anything like that. You know, we were always respectful to other people. No drugs. We'd have a great time. We'd have a couple, two, three, four glasses of wine and some beers and hang out and have a wonderful time. But it was never like dangerous or stupid bad time. It was always a fun, great time, and we would laugh and just have a hilarious riot. So as much as I'm saving most of my stories for the book when I do a book, but I will preface the whole point by saying we had amazing times, and nobody got hurt, and nobody got too intoxicated. Nobody was ever abused or insulted or treated badly, and it was a wonderful thing. So as much as some of the wild times you might hear about from the '80s are kind of sordid in their detail, ours were actually pretty clean and a lot of fun.
Wow, that's pretty rare to have like a clean thing during the 80s, you know? Yeah, a lot of stories you hear. Yeah, the guy just did a bunch of drugs and failed. It's just, it's weird sometimes, but
Yeah, yeah, life is strange.
yeah, life is really strange sometimes.
All right.
And in 1988, you left the band because of musical differences. Did you guys just stop getting along?
We got along pretty good. Everything was fine. But Dave wanted to go in a different direction, and he went that way with Skyscraper, which was an interesting record, but it wasn't my thing. And it was more clinical and calculated. Talas was a jam band in a bar where we play, and we wanted to be like that. I wanted to be in a band like that, which Eat 'em and Smile kind of was. So I started Mr. Big, got a guitar player and drummer that I knew, found a singer, put it together, and I think the yesterday was the 32-year anniversary of the release of our first record. So I posted the cover on of that record on Facebook, and then I mentioned that I still have on the cover is a top hat and a pair of old beat up shoes and a cane, and I still got the shoes and the hat. So I posted that I did, and some people didn't believe me. So today I took a picture of the shoes and hat and posted it again today, and there's about 1,000 comments on there already about it. So it's wonderful to see people enjoy that record so much. So many people commented that they love that record and listen to it a lot and still listen to this day. So I was very, very grateful for everyone who commented on that.
Now passing with now with the passing of Pat Trophy, is there any plans to replace him and have the band carry on?
At this point, no. No, I know a lot of bands go through the same catastrophe. They lose a guy and then they find someone else to come in. Happened to AC/DC, happened to many bands, and I just we just didn't feel right with us and our relationship in the band. If one of the guys isn't there, it doesn't seem right, you know.
Yeah, it's just like one of the OG members, It's like one of the old guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's very true. So maybe some point we'll get somebody and go out. Maybe just me, Eric, and Paul will go out and just tell stories and play it acoustically. But there's no plans at this point, and we miss Pat very much. He was a wonderful man, and he was probably my closest friend in the music business. And his son is doing very well, very handsome young kid. Pat was a handsome guy. His beautiful and wonderful wife is doing well too, so I'm glad to report. But we still do miss him, and I think of him almost every day.
Now Richie said he would like to make another album with the Winery Dogs. Is that in the near future or just talk right now?
It's in the near future. I think we're going to begin very soon to put the pieces together that you begin to do to make a new record. So I'm excited about it. I love the Winery Dogs. I love playing with Richie. I love playing with Mike. And it's a three-piece band, so it's easy to deal with things, much easier. And I love playing in that band. So I'm looking forward to that.
Now I have to ask, you've been in so many bands and played so many different styles of rock. What do you prefer? The more classic rock like David Lee Roth, more big hip hop rock stuff with Mr. Big, progressive stuff like Sons of Apollo, or just plain old metal?
All of that. I like a lot of different kinds of music, and I love performing it. But I do like mostly songs where there's singing. However, in a band I had called Niacin, there were no vocals, and in Sons of Apollo, I'm not part of the singing thing. I just do bass. And I love those bands too. But just about anything, as long as I'm on the stage and I'm playing, I often say I live to play live, and I play live to live,
Yeah.
and it's very important to me to be up there. So no matter who it's with, I'm glad to be there.
Now, speaking of metal, Megadeth is looking for a replacement for David Ellefson. Would that be something you would be interested or trying?
No, no, not really. Not necessarily my thing, but I wish all of them well. And Dave is a very good friend of mine, and I hope he's doing okay. I know it's a difficult, embarrassing, and terrible situation. So I wish him the best, and I wish the band the best.
You never know now because what's out there. Because Dave Mustaine just might call you right now and just ask you, yo, could you please join Megadeth? We need some assistance player. We need that bass player.
Well, a lot of guys I would recommend to him, but it's not necessarily my thing. But I think they're a great band, and I wish them well for sure.
I really don't think it was fair that David Ellefson got removed from the group. He was such a nice guy. I can't believe that happened. You know?
Yeah, I agree. There may have been more at play within the band. There might have been some tension already. Who knows? I know Dave very well, and he's a wonderful guy. Everybody has their moment where they do something they regret, and we all do at some point in our lives. And unfortunately, now there's the internet, and you can do something stupid, and the whole world knows about it. So I feel for the guy, and I understand the situation. And but I would certainly wish him well, and I hope he and his family reconcile, and everything is okay with them. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, like you said, the internet. Some guy can just say a thing that you did 20 years ago, and now you're a totally different person now,
Exactly.
and then people will still think you're just the guy from 20 years ago.
Exactly right. Yeah, we all have ups and downs. We make mistakes. We say something stupid that we didn't mean to, and it's been like that throughout life for since history began. And now you're getting branded with something for something you said 10, 15, or 20 years ago, or something you did that was stupid you did when you were young. And so I don't like that aspect of life in these modern internet times.
But unfortunately, that call was made, and someone has to take the gig. But I know he will carry on and land on his feet when he's ready.
Well, I'm glad you think that way, and I tend to agree with you.
Now I want to talk to you about Sons of Apollo. I have never talked to Mike, but Ron and Jeff are friends of mine. They are
Great.
the nicest guy in the music industry. Yes, I interviewed them.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're dear friends of mine.
yeah. Where you guys are when you guys are together, is everyone just happy all the time and try to out nice each other? It's just like nice off, a nice off.
That is funny. No, well, you get up in the morning and it takes you before you have your coffee. Nobody's necessarily in a good mood, especially when you're on tour and you played the night before, and the bus drove all night to the next gig, and there you are. It can be tough, but generally, it's pretty cool. Everybody's, we're all professionals. Sometimes bands fight, just like husbands and wives fight, brothers and sisters fight, bosses and employees fight. Everybody has a little thing, but we're solid enough that little things like that don't threaten our don't threaten the band in any way. We've had our all bands I've been in have had their ups and downs. But Sons of Apollo, luckily, everybody in the band is a sensible professional. Mike Portnoy, you don't get any more professional than Mike Portnoy is. Derek Sherinian, the same. Jeff and Ron, as much easily. So I try to do the same myself. So we're blessed and lucky, and I'm grateful to be together with people of that caliber and that character. So yeah, we no, we're not always pleasant and nice. Sometimes you get pissed off. It happens, but generally we have a riot and we have a good time, and the shows are a blast. And when you're on stage, none of that stuff matters. That stuff goes away. It's just up there. Let's play, and it's a good thing. I love playing with that band.
Was it disappointing putting out MMMXXX last year and not getting really a chance to tour at all? Was it disappointing?
Yeah, it was sad because the album was really accepted very strongly right from the beginning. The reviews were fantastic, and everybody was all the comments. I check some of the comments sometimes, and they were just so wonderful. We're very thankful to people who were kind enough to say the wonderful things they did. So, unfortunately, the pandemic came along, and we had to cut the tour very short. And I didn't know if maybe during the pandemic we would do another record, but I think the last Sons of Apollo record, 2020, I think needs a chance to be toured before it gets confused with the new one. So hopefully we'll get a chance in the next year, early next year, to do a lot of shows with that and play the shows. So people have had a lot of time to memorize the lyrics to sing along. So that's the good part.
Now it seems like every band in the world is announcing tour dates and shows everywhere. Are you hitting the road this summer? And if so, with who?
No, we probably won't be playing a regular real tour until 2022 because to do a single show, it takes as much work and money and effort and time as it does to do a tour because you got to learn a whole set, you got to get road crew, you got to get bus or not bus, so you got to get a lot of personnel to lighting, sound, monitors, all that stuff, learn the whole set, and that usually takes a lot of money and time. And if you only do one show or three or four shows, you're not in the black, you're in the red, you're having a hard time. That's why tours go out, they don't really start to make a profit until about halfway through. They pay off all the debts they incurred putting the tour together, and then the rest of the second half of the tour they make a profit to go home and get paid. And so it's difficult. So there are some shows being announced, but I don't believe there are any large tours going out. There's a few here and there, but most of the agents and most of the managers in the music business are looking forward to 2022, and they haven't booked so much. But it's good to see some bands are playing because I think once the floodgates open, it's going to be an amazing thing, and people are dying for live music. So that's a good thing. So I can't wait to get out and play live again, but it probably won't be until early next year. Other than I think I'm doing a Christmas show in Buffalo on December 15th. Uh, and there's a NAM show coming up. It's a musical instruments show here in Nashville. It's not a performance though. It's just where companies show their new guitars and amps and stuff. So I'll be there. But and hopefully, beginning of next year, we'll start some giant tours all over the place and travel around the world again and get back to doing what we do.
Yeah, let's hope that 2022 is going to be the tour year like 2020 was supposed to be. Let's
Yeah,
hope.
I agree. I agree. I'm hoping that.
Does it ever get hard being in so many bands and choosing who to tour with? Does it ever get hard?
Yeah, it's never an easy gig. I've seen crew guys come out and it's their first tour, and they're all excited and they think it's going to be a riot and fun and partying. And literally, one gentleman was in the fetal position crying for his mommy halfway through the tour. It is tough, and you sometimes don't get any sleep, or get horrible food, and you got to get right on the bus and travel and sleep for a couple hours, get up and do the next show. Now the band gets to sleep in a little bit because we got to sing to save our voices, but still for us too, it's a lot of work. I love it. If I'm on a bus tour, which means you bus pulls up, get out, do a show, get back on bus, drive to the next show. That's great. But when you have to fly in, it's a pain in the neck, and it makes it even more tired and jet lagged, and the flying is just an ugly, ugly experience for me at this point. So a bus tour I could go out for 5 years and I wouldn't complain. It would be great. But the flying really gets to you.
Yeah.
So it can be tough at times, but the rewards are great.
Yeah, the rewards are great, but yes, like you said, it's tough sometimes. I couldn't even blame somebody if they're like, yeah, mommy.
Yeah, it's yeah. Then some guys, they throw a tantrum. They get upset and they start smashing things. And I've seen that, and I've done a little of that myself too. When you're up against the wall, but that morning comes around and get it together. Things pass, fix it up. You got one. We always have wonderful crew and staff and tour manager and bus drivers that take care of everything for us, and it's overall it's an amazing thing. A couple dark spots is all, but most of all, it is spectacular.
Is there any band that is your main focus?
Not necessarily. The Winery Dogs and Sons of Apollo right now. Uh, and like I said, I'm doing a lot of recording, and I'm not necessarily a studio bass player. I'm live performance bass player. So when you're recording, there's different things you got to watch out for and be careful of. You got to play more precisely. Your timing has got to be exactly right. So this past more than a year, I've been recording so much that I've really discovered a lot more about my playing and how to be better at it and how to be more efficient at it and be more musical and understanding a lot more. So that's been a good thing.
When writing music, how do you decide what band gets what you wrote? How do you decide that?
Well, usually you write for the band that you're thinking about. So if I'm writing a song that might be a little bit more bluesy based and straight up rock, I'd be thinking Winery Dogs. If I'm playing something that's a little bit more complicated, I would tend to think more towards Sons of Apollo. So generally, I write for who is on my mind at any particular point, as opposed to just laying songs down that I'm not sure about them. So I try and think about the band that's going to play them, and that kind of helps you write the song because you know what kind of things that band would do. Sons of Apollo, suddenly in the middle, we take off and go some completely crazy, impossible part, and then come back again. Where Winery Dog is going to be a lot more vocals, a lot more bluesy, soulful stuff, and Mr. Big was like that too, a lot more bluesy and soulful, but with different guys. So with different guys, you treat things differently. Different guitar players and drummers they all have a different DNA, so you adjust to it. That's my phone. I'll have to call him back.
Okay.
I'll move it out of the way.
It happens all the time. It's a music industry. What do you know?
Say again. I'm sorry.
It's the I don't. It's okay, man. It's the music industry. It happens all the time. You know.
It does. It does. We're busy.
Sometimes when people are calling me during the interviews, I'm like, I just break my phone sometimes, and I have to get a new one. Have you written something for one band but ended up using it for another?
Well, there's a lot of songs on the first Mr. Big record that were Talas songs. Uh, uh, a song called "Had Enough" originally was a Talas song. Uh, "The Price You Gotta Pay" was a Talas song. "The Whole World Is Gonna Know" was a Talas song. And so those they adapted easily because they were when they were in Talas, they were vocal songs. So in Mr. Big, we had an amazing singer. Eric Martin was just spectacular. So when he got a hold of those songs, man, they went through the roof. So I was very pleased that Mr. Big did those songs, and a lot of Talas fans like them.
I would say you were one of the top bass players in the world. What are the bass players that you looked up to?
Oh, it's a long list. Thank you for saying that. Uh, an ancient band called the Vanilla Fudge. Tim Bogert was a bass player, huge influence. An even older band called the Yardbirds, where Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and Jeff Beck were all played in that band. Their bass player was Paul Samwell Smith, and he was a big influence on me. And then everybody and everything, not just bass players, piano players, sax players, strings, classical music, guitar players, of course, a lot of singers, a lot of different things. They all affected my bass playing. And they still are. I've still listened to a lot of music, and I'm still learning a lot. Every day I learn something new on bass. And once in a while I'll go back and listen to the older stuff that I grew up on and hear something that sounds new to me again, and I'll pick up my bass and learn it and expand my horizon a little bit more. But the two main ones were Tim Bogert, Paul Samwell Smith, John Entwistle and the Who, Jack Bruce from Cream, uh, Chris Squire. That oldest the generation before me, a lot of them were my influences for sure.
Besides you, I would choose David Ellison, Leah, and Les Claypool because Les plays crazy. He plays like insanely.
Wonderful player, yes, absolutely.
Why did you choose the bass instead of a regular guitar?
Well, around the corner from me when I grew up was a bass player. His name was Joe, and he was a cool guy, and I wanted to be like Joe. And he had a big Fender P bass, and I remember picked it up and plucked it the first time. I got a blister on my finger, and then at night I would be in bed because I was a little kid, and they would practice, and I could hear the bass because the bass travels the farthest. And my brother would sit me down. We'd listen to the radio. He goes, "Yeah, you hear that there?" I go, "Yeah, that's the bass in the song. That's the bass part. That's what Joe plays. Yeah, cool." So I just thought bass was the coolest thing in the world. And a lot of times in a movie or something, when they want to make music that's cool, you hear a stand-up bass. It's always the bass was the cool thing. Guitar is great; they get all the glory, but I do think that the bass has got a coolness to it that a guitar doesn't have. And I have a low voice, and I'm tall and skinny like a. So it was kind of built for me. And I play guitar a bit. I can do chords. I play lead up to about the Neil Young level. I can fake shred a little bit, and I write on guitar a lot. But bass is really, I'm just drawn to it, and I love the sound of it and the tone, the fact that the whole room shakes when you play bass, and it's a beautiful thing.
So like when you go to the movies, do you bring your personal bass and like when people are just watching the action movie, when you play your song, they just think it's just going with the movie, and they're like, "Wow, they got a really good song on there, man. Why does it sound so close to us, even though we're at the back seat?" This is,
Yeah, well, I haven't taken my bass to the movies yet, but the night is young. I may someday.
What is your favorite memory from playing a show?
Well, there's a lot of them. I'm happy to say we did a show on Beach Santos Beach in outside of Sao Paulo, Brazil, Mr. Big, Henry Rollins, the Lemonheads, and a local band. We were the headliner. And it was a big outdoor stage on a beach. We thought, oh, probably be a couple thousand people there. It's going to be great. So the day is progressing. I'm looking out at the crowd. I go, that's getting bigger. There's a lot of people out there. But another hour goes on. I look out and I go, holy cow, there's a lot of people here. We ended up having 100,000 people on the beach. And we didn't know, but in Brazil on the daytime soap opera, they were playing Mr. Big songs. So everybody knew us. We didn't even know that. So we got up there to play, and the crowd went out of their minds, and we had one of the best nights ever. It was just amazing. So at the end of the night, the police and the security that were in front of the stage, they started getting worried because the crowd was rowdy and it was late and it's coming to the end of the show. And so they left. They left. They were gone. So it was just the band, a little barricade, 100,000 people. And we're playing the last couple shows thinking, geez, I hope we can get out of here. And sure enough, off in the distance, there were fires burning in the crowd, big bonfires and people going crazy. We saw the army showed up, the military personnel carriers showed up, and the army got out and started surrounding everybody to tell them all to go home. So they had to call in the military to end the show. So that was quite a memorable night for us. And since then, we've been just best friends with our Brazilian fans. They're just amazing, and we go down there a lot. It's pretty cool.
Oh my god, that sounds like a actually country level kind of song. Oh my god, the military.
They had to call in the army.
It's like
pretty well.
Yeah. So, what is your worst memory from playing a show?
Say again.
What is your worst memory from playing a show?
Oh, gee, I remember playing shows back in the clubs, and a fight would break out, and we're on stage, and we can see it, but we can't do anything about it. Remember, we played a club in Rochester one night, and somebody took a bottle right on somebody's head, and there was just blood everywhere, and we're 5 feet away. We can't do anything. We're up on stage. That was awful, and once in a while, somebody doing something stupid or throwing something up at the band on stage. It's fortunately for us, it hasn't happened much at all. We've been lucky to have just great audiences. So there aren't many bad memories. I'm happy to say.
Yeah, well, not for my grandparents. They literally every single day there was a fist fight. So that's bad. They're like, oh, yep, guy thrown out the window again.
Oh, well.
The usual.
These things happen.
Yeah. Is it true you have played over 4,000 tours and played everywhere besides Africa and Antarctica? Is that true?
It's over 5,000, I think. But now I haven't been on the continent of Africa or Antarctica yet. Those are the two I haven't been on. So I'll go do a show in maybe Egypt or Morocco or South Africa or someplace. Nigeria would be cool. And I would love to play there someday. And then maybe I'll talk with Yamaha and have them pay for a trip for me to go down on a adventurous tour to Antarctica, get the bass, jump out on the beach with the penguins, play a bit, take a video, get back on, and I will have played on every continent. So,
yeah.
That's my plan.
Why are you slacking on those two? Africa and Antarctica. Why are you slacking on those two, man?
Why? What was the question?
Why are you slacking on them? On those two? Well, is there something going on? I'm just.
Oh, that's cool. No, we never choose where we play. That's why a lot of people say, why don't you play in Toledo? What's wrong with you guys? Or how come you don't have a Detroit show? Because they didn't book us. So we only go where people book us. So Japan calls management and says, we want to tour with Mr. Big or with Winery Dogs or Sons of Apollo. We want to do 20 shows with them. Send them on over. Okay. And then we go over and do it. But they got to call us. So we only, a lot of people misunderstand that. I get a lot of email from people that are upset and pissed off that, how come you didn't play my city? Well, you guys didn't book us. You didn't. You could have, but you didn't.
I was not trying to be a jerk at all. I just have a weird sense of humor, man. I was just trying to.
It's okay.
Okay.
I never thought that. It's cool.
Thank you,
You're
man.
doing good on the internet. I only have a few more minutes here. I apologize.
It's all right, man. It usually happens.
Great.
Hey, there's only 3 questions left, so all
Perfect. Let's do them.
right. What is next for you? What is
What
next?
is?
What is next for like your band or for you? Like what's
Well,
next?
I'm going to continue recording. I had about another 5 songs come in today for me to record. Um, I'm practicing a lot, very intensive practice too. So when I get back on stage, I want to have a lot of new things for people and have some cool new stuff. That's my goal. Uh, I'm going to do the NAM show is coming up, National Association of Music Merchants. That's here in Nashville, Summer NAM, and I'll be going to that in late July. And then just writing and recording, hopefully doing some writing for all the bands I'm involved with, and a couple of other side projects I'm working on too. I'm also producing the Talas record will be coming out relatively soon. I'm producing a singer-songwriter named John Statham. Played on a bunch of records that'll be coming out soon too. So there's a lot coming up, but I'm waiting for a band and a record to be coming up. So that's my priority. So hopefully, the Winery Dogs would be the next thing we'll be doing.
How did my followers start following you?
My combined social media is over 1 million between Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all those. And I answer it all myself. So it's a monstrous task. Uh, some people write that, is this really Billy? And I go, yeah, it's really me, and I don't have anybody working for me to do that stuff. And I like to do it because I like to stay in touch with people and kind of put my thumb on the pulse of what's going on. What do you like? What don't you like? What's good? What's bad? What you're into? What you're not into? I'm not. I don't pander to people, but I like people to be pleased with what I do. Want them to enjoy it, and so when I'm in touch with them, there he is again.
God, he's persistent.
I'm sorry. That's a producer for Talas right now. He's probably calling for me to listen to a mix. So I'll be doing that after we're done. But yeah, I like being in touch with a lot of people. So I do everything myself, and I'm a pretty open book too. I post a lot of what's going on around my house and my cat Rebel and my wife and cooking and working on basses and feeding the chipmunks and all kinds of things like that. So I actually enjoy social media in that respect very much.
Yeah, I really appreciate you kinds of people who actually like go on instead of just hiring people to do it. Actually like saying, hey, do you really like this? I can change it if you could just give me a couple. I really like those kind of people. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Well, that's how we met. So it's a good thing.
Is there any chance you can send me an autograph picture for my collection?
I think I can. You got to email me your address, and I'll do my best to get it out to you.
No, okay, thank you. Now you have been a part of few supergroups. If you could form a new supergroup, who would be in the band?
Oh, Jimi Hendrix was my first concert. I saw it in Buffalo my first concert ever. Let's see, probably Billy Cobham on drums. Jimmy Smith on Hammond B3. These are jazzier guys. And singing would be maybe we got to bring Frank Sinatra back. Of course, I don't think he'd like that band too much.
Yeah, I would. I don't think he would like it, but I think he would actually. Yeah, Frank Sinatra. Yeah, he would definitely fit for that. Yeah.
That's way old school.
Oh no, I listen to him all the time.
Oh, great.
I love "Fly Me to the
I'm
Moon."
glad. It's one of my favorite tracks ever.
Well, thank you for being on my show, man. I hope the next time we talk is at the backstage at one of your shows, dude. Please.
Perfect. Well, thank you for having me, and let's stay in touch. Send me your address. I'll see if I can get something out to you, and keep doing what you're doing. I think you did a great interview.
Thank you, man. I really hope you have a good one.
Okay. We'll talk very soon.
Talk very soon, man. Please. Have a good
Bye-bye.